New Earth or the New World Order? It's our choice. And it is, isn't it? Because we are the 99.9%. But as I've said now many times, we're simply not organized to realize that we have this power. The biggest YouTube channel on this planet is by someone called Mr. Beast, which I think is 325 million subscribers. Now imagine if he ran a simple crowdfunding campaign in which we could reclaim our land, buy land, and then design these autonomous co-housing projects, which I'm trying to um, provide shelter, energy, food, and water as basic human rights through. Imagine if someone of that stature and with that amount of following had a simple political idea. Could we not, in that sense, not overthrow the government, but replace the government? Let's remember what American architect Buckminster Fuller said. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And that's simply all we need to do. That's what I'm campaigning for here at newearth.land, which is all about freedom, abundance, well-being. It's running in parallel to what we might consider to be the New World Order, which is ultimately about control and mass surveillance. As sinister as it sounds, that is indeed the case, and this is why nothing ever seemingly gets better, even though they're selling us on things that, essentially put the dummies back in the mouth, like technologies, and the singularity is near, as Ray Kurzweil at Google and some of these big players like Klaus Schwab, you'll own nothing and be happy, is saying. Okay, so a lot of this agenda is ultimately what we might consider to be Agenda 2030. It's also the technocracy in which technologies will replace humans to some extent in terms of the jobs, not only, but also in terms of controlling mechanisms. And they show us this in an episode of Black Mirror called Metal Gear Solid. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but there's many films now that have been warning us about the agenda that's taking place. And so ultimately what we need to realize to empower ourselves is the simple truth that we are the 99%. We are the people. There are no politicians nor petitions required for us to create this new earth on this planet. And so everything that we fundamentally need for existence should be decommodified, and it should be a basic human right. It sounds like a long shot, but it's very, very simple. Why? Because we have social media now, we have the internet, we have ways of organizing and coordinating ourselves, and crowdsourcing ultimately can operate as a 21st century form of transparent, optional, truly democratic taxation. So taxation at the moment, and so it has been throughout the last few decades and beyond, is simply an enforcement. Okay, it's, well, you pay us 20-30% of your income, else you're going to prison. We're seeing similar things in terms of truancy in school. If you don't take your child to school, where she's going to be formatted and trained to think in a very specific way. Trained ultimately is the operative word there, not educated. Then again, no option, no choice. So we're being thrown into this world, and we're having certain things that ultimately are based on themes of enslavement, but they're so normalized in such a way that we can't see beyond them. So if anyone proposes any sort of concept of true freedom in the world, they're immediately dismissed as being a blue sky thinker, as someone who's purely an idealist. And what I've always said in response to that is that, yes, I am an idealist, because idealism becomes realism. Okay, everything follows imagination, and if we don't have that imagination, we don't have the seed for growth. And as Albert Einstein said, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it, which is what I've been saying for a long time, and I'm boring myself with that quote. But right now I'm trying to start a YouTube video or a YouTube channel that affords a solution, that creates an actual tangible real world solution that we can all be a part of, and not just this conceptual thing. Because government conceptually is sound, right, but it's not being executed in the way, and it doesn't have the transparency that's required for us to actually have our money be utilized in an effective way. And so what we can do through social media is ultimately create that transparency and run crowdsourcing projects which will provide these democratic co-housing environments. So there'll be no more rent, no more bills, and it will be transparently revealed to us, so that if you ever feel that this is going off piece and it's going down a direction you don't want it to, you just stop funding it. Okay, and that's not what we have a choice of in terms of taxation. So I'm simply trying to offer a parallel project, a parallel universe as such, which is very much in touch with our natural way of living on this planet. I feel like we've been detached from nature, and in doing so we've lost touch with our authentic minds, And we've been conditioned and programmed and formatted in a way that perpetuates the madness, not least through these facades that we call general elections on a 4 or 5 year basis. And of course, a lot of this is just a pantomime, which is principally revealed to us through the nature of these political debates that we see in the US, where it just becomes quite comedic. But people keep buying into this, and therefore they are paying attention to the problem and therefore not actually operating and considering the solution. And that's really where all the wisdom lies. The more we focus on the solution, the more we can bring about this new earth, and the more this notion of a new world order will fall into the past and it will be exposed for what it was. Of course, there's many agendas going on, and a lot of the alternative media has actually been unfortunately hijacked. So what we need to do is create a real world solution, something that's physically present and omniscient almost, in the years to come. I feel like this is the way things will operate. Crowdsourcing will replace taxation in terms of it being an optional thing that we can participate in. And in doing so, we can create a much better world. So anyway, that's it for this video. Choose New Earth, subscribe to this channel, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.